Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. It's 5:32. This is Mike Madison, Planning Director, and we'll call the April 9, 2020 meeting of the Williamson County Regional Planning Commission to order. The first thing I'm going to do is a roll call, and so when I call your name, would you please indicate your presence? Robin Baldry? Robin, are you here? You may need to unmute yourself. I'll come back to you. Steve Lane.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Robin, you're here, right?
This is Steve Lane, I'm present.
Okay, thank you. Beth Lothers,
Present.
Keith McCord,
Present.
Sammy McCoy,
Present.
Brian Richter,
Present.
Rhonda Rose,
Present.
and did Don Crohan join us? Okay, let the record reflect that we do have a quorum, but since the chairman is not with us and the vice chairman is not with us, you all are going to need to elect a temporary chair for this evening. Any discussion on that motion or a motion?
I motion that Sammy be the chair for the evening. I'll second that.
Okay, so let the record reflect that Robin Baldry made the motion that Sammy McCoy chair, and that was seconded by, was it Rhonda Rose?
I'm sorry, Beth Lothers.
Beth Lothers, I'm sorry. Okay, so the motion is made and seconded for Sammy McCoy to temporarily chair the meeting. Are you okay with that, first of all, Sammy?
Do I have a choice? Sammy is good with it.
Okay, any discussion? All right, I'll do a roll call vote on the motion for Sammy to be the temporary chair. Robin Baldry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Steve Lane,
Yes.
Beth Lothers,
Yes.
Keith McCord,
Yes.
Sammy McCoy,
Yes.
Brian Richter,
Yes.
and Rhonda Rose.
Yes.
Okay, let the record reflect that it was unanimous, and Sammy, will turn it over to you to chair the meeting.
Well, I wasn't really planning to do this tonight, so y'all bear with me. And I believe I need to first entertain a motion to hold this meeting electronically. Do we have a motion about that?
Yes, Acting Chair McCoy, I make a motion that we have electronic meeting due to the COVID-19 virus, and that precipitates our need for a planning commission meeting electronically.
This is Steve Lane, I
Brian
second.
Richter, second.
So I have a proper motion made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? And correct me if I'm wrong, do I need to call each individual out as a roll call vote, Mike?
I'm sorry, what was that saying?
Do I need to call each individual person out for a roll call vote?
Well, let me do that since you'll be voting also, Sammy. So we're ready to do that? Okay, Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lothers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
and Sammy McCoy.
Aye.
Let me do one more quick thing before we get on with it. I should have mentioned when I did roll call for the planning commission members, just for the record, I want to make it clear that the following staff people are present also, as well. Joe Horn, Erin Homes, Lincoln Sweet, Christina Collins, Floyd Heflin, William Andrews, Christy Ransom, and myself, Mike Madison.
Okay, our first order of business is consideration of the minutes from the March 12th, 2020 meeting. Do we have any discussion about those minutes or a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Any announcement?
I have
Beth
a
Lathers
motion
move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Brian Richter, second.
Go for a second.
If there's no further discussion, we'll take a roll call vote. Mike? Hearing none, Mike, will you take a roll call?
I will, yes. Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
and Sammy McCoy.
Aye. All right, that passes. We will move to the consent agenda. I assume I'm turning that over to Joe well, I guess, are there any announcements first, Joe, that you need to cover?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There are a couple of announcements. First of all, items 19, 20, 22, and 27 have been withdrawn. And we do have a request tonight for a non-agenda item. That would be a request for the subdivision, final plat for subdivision Arrington Ridge, Section 1. We made copies of the revised agenda report and the actual plat are part of your agenda package, and they are toward the back. But I believe there'll have to be a vote taken to consider that item.
Does that need to be taken now?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to consider the final plat for Arrington Ridge, Section 1?
I'll make a motion to put that on the agenda. Keith McCord.
I'll second Beth
There, second.
Lathers.
All right, I have a proper motion and second to add final plat for Arrington Ridge, Section 1 to the agenda. It will fall in place number 28 on the agenda, and let's take a roll call vote. Mike?
Okay, Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Robin Rose,
Aye.
and Sammy McCoy.
Aye. Okay, we're moving on along. I will turn this back over to Joe for consideration of the consent agenda.
Thank you. We'll begin with item 3, Blackberry Ridge Performance Bond for Roads, Drainage, and Erosion Control, $295,000. Recommendation, extending current amount for a period of 1 year. Item 4, Overcroft Preserve Section 2 Performance Bond for Wastewater Collection System, $102,800. Recommendation, extending current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 5, Falls Grove Section 1 Maintenance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control, $290,000. Recommendation, extending current amount for a period of 1 year. Item 6, Falls Grove, Section 5, performance bond for wastewater collection, $84,400. Recommendation, extending current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 7, Farms at Clovercroft, Section 3, performance bond for wastewater collection system, $116,000. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 8, McDaniel Farms, Section 2, performance bond for landscaping, $4,125. Recommendation, reduce the maintenance amount of $1,500 for a period of 6 months. Item 9, the Grove, Section 8, performance bond for wastewater collection system, $20,200. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 10, the Grove, Section 9, performance bond for wastewater collection system, $166,200. Recommendation, extending current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 11, the Grove, Section 11, performance bond for wastewater collection system, $186,500. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 12, Troubadour Amenity Center, performance bond for landscaping, $5,100. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 1 year. Item 13, Troubadour Section 2, maintenance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control, $567,000. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 1 year. Item 14, Troubadour Section 3, maintenance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control, $350,000. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 1 year. Item 15, Vineyard Valley Section 1, performance bond for landscaping, $18,150. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 6 months. Dropping down to item 25 under the final plats. Final plat review for Troubadour Golf and Field Club, Section 6, containing 39 lots and 28.54 acres in the 5th voting district. Staff recommends approval of the final plat with the following conditions. 1, the establishment of performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control in the amount of $626,000. 2, establishment of performance bond for water improvements in favor of Millcroft and Utility District in the amount of $230,000. Item 3, establishment of performance bond for wastewater collection system amount of $40,500. 4, execution of performance agreements for the above referenced securities. 5, revised HOA documents addressing the requirements of Section 1712 private streets of the zoning ordinance must be submitted for review and approval by the county attorney. The approved HOA documents must be recorded at the same time as the recording of the final plat. Item 6, execution of stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of operations and maintenance plans for stormwater improvements. And 7, submission of approved final plat in DWG format on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Plane Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of the plat. And item 26, final plat review for Troubadour Golf and Field Club, Section 7, containing 39 lots and 28.54 acres in the 5th voting district. Staff recommends approval of the final plat with the following conditions. 1, establishment of the performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control in the amount of $626,000. 2, establishment of performance bond for water improvements in favor of Millcroft and Utility District in the amount of $230,000. 3, establishment of performance bond for wastewater collection system in the amount of $40,500. 4, execution of performance agreement for the above noted sureties. 5, revised HOA documents addressing requirements of Section 1712 private streets of the zoning ordinance must be submitted for review and approval by the county attorney. The approved HOA documents must be recorded at the same time as the recording of the final plat. 6, execution of the stormwater maintenance agreement, submission of operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And 7, submission of approved final plat in DWG format on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Plane Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of the final plat.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Commissioner Beth Lathers, I move to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second it. It's Robin Baldwin.
I have a proper motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's take a roll call vote. Mike, please.
Okay, Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Have to abstain.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
and Chairman McCoy.
Aye. With the one abstain, do we get a quorum vote?
Yeah, Christie, correct me if I'm wrong, but the quorum is necessary to open the meeting, but the vote would have passed by a majority vote.
That's correct. This is Christie.
Sounds good. So it passes. All right. Moving on to item number 16. We have a non-residential site plan review for the Brightstone Campus on 139.2 acres located off Columbia Pike in the 11th voting district. Staff.
Ms. Erin Homes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting approval of the overall master plan for the Brightstone campus, which consists of approximately 211,000 square feet of buildings and the associated parking. Buildings will be utilized for job training, functional academics, and learning of life skills for the intellectually and developmentally challenged adults. At full build-out, there will be housing for 76 students and staff and caregivers. The applicant's letter of intent is attached here to is attachment 16-4. Properties in question are located on Columbia Pike, approximately a quarter mile south of Coleman Road. Surrounding properties range in size from approximately 3 acres to 221 acres and are used primarily for residential or agricultural purposes. To the east of the property in question is the required open space and drip areas for the non-traditional wastewater system for the Bell Vista subdivision. There will be 2 points of access from Columbia Pike, and TDOT has granted conceptual approval for both access points. The use is anticipated to generate less than 10 peak hour trips per acre, and as such, neither a traffic study nor the traffic shed analysis is required. As the properties are located within the City of Franklin's urban growth boundary, a copy of the plans have been shared with the city staff, and at the time of this writing, no comments have been received. Water to the site is served by HB&TS Utility District, and staff has received confirmation that service is available. Wastewater will be handled via an on-site non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal system, and all existing residences located on the property will be connected to the proposed system. Existing septic facilities for those residences will be abandoned in accordance with the regulations of the Williamson County Department of Sewage Disposal Management. A design development report and detailed soils investigation report was prepared by the applicant and submitted to the county. County's wastewater consultant has reviewed this report and is recommending approval from a wastewater standpoint. Site plan is in order and staff recommends approval with the following conditions. Number 1, prior to the issuance of a zoning certificate allowing the change of use for any of the existing residences or a building permit, whichever occurs first, a zoning certificate must be obtained for the completed wastewater treatment and disposal system. Prior to the issuance of the zoning certificate, the applicant shall provide the following. A letter from TDEC indicating that said treatment and disposal system was installed and is functioning. B, as-built drawings showing the location of all treatment system components and a sealed certification letter from the design engineer indicating that said treatment system was constructed in accordance with the approved construction plans and specifications. C, a letter from the owner/utility provider indicating that it has accepted said treatment system and is currently operating same. And D, posting of a performance bond in the amount of $214,300 for said treatment and disposal system as specified by the county's wastewater consultant. Number 2, submission of a revised site plan showing the location of all components of the existing septic systems and areas for the 4 residences located on the properties, and all notes relating to the abandonment of the systems affixed to the revised site plan. Number 3, establishment of a performance bond for landscaping improvements in the amount of $145,750. Number 4, execution of a performance agreements for the above referenced sureties. Number 5, execution of a stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of an operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And number 6, all signage must be approved per ordinance requirements.
Thank you, Erin. Do we have any discussion about the item 16?
Mathers,
have a
I
move?
move that we accept staff recommendation.
Steve Lane, second the motion.
Perfect. We have a proper motion and second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. Mike?
Okay, Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Wathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rhodes,
Aye.
and Chairman McCoy.
Aye. So motion passes. Moving on to item number 17. Concept plan review for Harpers Hollow subdivision containing 33 lots on 70.82 acres located off Arno Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
This is Erin Homes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting approval of a 33-lot traditional subdivision on the portion of the property zoned hamlet. The review of a concept plan is the first stage in the development approval process. Subject property totals approximately 7.82 acres and is located at the intersection of Arno and Meeks Road. The site contains, site contains a number of natural resources, including moderate and very steep slopes, streams, and a large area of woodlands. Approximately 80% of the site is covered in tree canopy. The required 50-foot open space strip around the perimeter of the property has been provided. The proposed development consists of 33 lots, which range in size from 20,000 square feet to approximately 36,000 square feet. The overall density is 0.47 dwelling units per acre. 56% of the site will be preserved in open space, and 54% of the existing tree canopy will be retained. The traffic shed analysis performed by the applicant indicates that the proposed number of lots is within acceptable limits based upon the capacity of existing roadways. Access to the proposed development will be provided from a single entrance on Meeks Road, which is classified as a local roadway by the major thoroughfare plan. Per section 5, subsection 5.3K3B of the Williamson County Subdivision Regulations, a dedication of 25 feet off the center line of Meeks Road and a dedication of 30 feet off the center line of Arno Road will be necessary. Within the development, the applicant is requesting a right-of-way width of 40 feet in order to locate sidewalks outside of the right-of-way and a design speed of 25 miles per hour for internal roadways. Staff is in support of these requests. Water service will be provided by Millcrofton Utility District. Wastewater will be handled via the Stag's Leap treatment system, for which a revised site plan was approved at the January 2020 meeting to accommodate the capacity of this additional development. Should be noted that once detailed construction and engineering plans are prepared in conjunction with the submittal of a preliminary plat, changes to the layout, including the potential for a reduction of lots and relocation of drainage infrastructure from buffer areas may be necessary. A landscaping plan will also be required. Staff recommends approval of the concept plan along with the request for a 40-foot right-of-way width and design speed of 25 miles per hour within the subdivision with the following conditions. Preliminary plat must address the following. Number 1, submission of roads, drainage, and erosion control plans for review and approval by the county. Number 2, submission of the water plans for review and approval by Millcrofton Utility District. Number 3, submission of the applicable construction plans for the required wastewater disposal facilities to TDEC, the county's consultant, and staff. Final plat must address the following. Prior to final plat submittal of the first section of the proposed subdivision, a zoning certificate must be obtained for the completed wastewater treatment and disposal system. Prior to the issuance of the zoning certificate, the applicant shall provide the following. A letter from TDEC indicating that the non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal system was installed and is functioning. B, as-built drawing showing the location of all system components and a sealed certification letter from the design engineer indicating that said system was constructed in accordance with the approved construction plans and specifications. C, a letter from the owner/utility provider indicating that it has accepted said system and is currently operating same. D, posting of a performance bond in the amount of $69,000 for the expanded disposal system as specified by the county's wastewater consultant. E, posting of a performance bond in the amount of $26,000 for landscaping improvements. And F, execution of performance agreements for the above referenced sureties. Number 2, prior to final plat approval, the applicant shall submit HOA documents for review and approval by the county attorney's office. The HOA documents must be submitted with the final plat, and the approved HOA documents must be recorded concurrently with the recording of the final plat. 3, establishment of a performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control. Number 4, establishment of a performance bond for water improvements in favor of Mill Crofton Utility District. Number 5, establishment of a performance bond for the wastewater collection system. Number 6, submission of landscaping plans and establishment of a performance bond for landscaping. Number 7, execution of performance agreements for the above referenced sureties. Number 8, execution of a stormwater maintenance and agreement and submission of an operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And number 9, submission of the approved final plat in DWG format on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Planning Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of the plat. Mr. Chairman, Richard House, the design engineer, is on the call with us.
Thank you, Erin. Do we have any discussion regarding item number 17, or are there any questions for the applicant, the engineer, the applicant?
I have a question. So Mike, can you remind us about the updates on Daniel Road, Arno Road, where they're redoing the roadway there? Can you remind us when that takes place and exactly what they're doing? And 2, and Erin can answer this, are there any left-hand turning lanes onto Meeks Road that this subdivision is going to provide, and also right-hand turning lane onto Meeks Road?
I'll answer the first part of the question, then Erin can talk about the turn lanes. You probably recall that back when one of the McDaniel subdivisions was approved, the one on the north side, I always get confused whether that's acres or estates. They're required to make improvements to that intersection, and that is to coincide with the 87th lot. So by the time they get a preliminary plat for the 87th lot, they have to have those construction improvements, the construction plans for those improvements approved by the county highway department. And then before they can get a final plat for the 87th lot, they'll actually have to have those improvements constructed and on the ground.
And can you remind us what those improvements are? And do they have any, is there any reflection regarding Meeks Road, like the turning lanes?
I don't recall the specifics of the exact design. They are going to improve the geometry of that road. My recollection is that they are adding a turn lane. And then in addition to improvements at the intersection itself, there'll be widening shoulders and travel lanes on McDaniel from that intersection back to the site.
Are there any, Erin, I didn't see it on here, read it. So is there any right-hand turns off of Arno onto Meeks Road and left-hand turns on Arno onto Meeks Road going north and south?
I'm gonna have to ask Floyd that. Floyd has seen the design plans, and he may be able to answer that better than I could. Floyd?
Yes, Floyd Heflin. There are turn lanes that are going to be constructed with the McDaniel Estates improvements. I don't recall the combination of right and left turn lanes, but that they are on Arno and perhaps McDaniel, but I don't remember anything on Meeks. This subdivision was not required to construct any turn lanes on Meeks.
Okay. So this is that same intersection, Arno Road, where Page High School, Page Middle School is just down the street, like a mile and a half on the left from this intersection. And this still concerns me that right off the intersection, turn onto Meeks Road from Arno, you kind of go up a little hill there just as you're getting to the entrance of this subdivision. And once again, there's 33 lots, so we're talking at least 2 cars and just a lot of traffic right there again on that intersection. And then turning left out of Meeks Road onto Arno, if there's not even a traffic light or anything, I just can't even imagine, that many cars, plus the people that already live down Meeks Road. And we've already approved the subdivision down Meeks Road. I can't think of the name of it, down in the corner in a curve, probably like maybe a mile and a half or 2 miles from this proposed subdivision. So that's just a lot of traffic right there on that intersection, that there's no left-hand turn lane out of Meeks Road. There's not a left turn lane from Arno onto Meeks Road or right hand. That's a lot of cars and a lot of people and a lot of traffic on that very dangerous intersection. Although it's going to be approved, but there's no turning lanes off of it. So this really concerns me that we're even putting more traffic and cars right there at that intersection.
I have a couple questions, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Beth.
Thank you. This is Beth Lathers. Floyd, with that, can you remind us how many units there has to be within a subdivision for us to require turn lanes off the roadway? What does our ZO state?
This is Floyd Heflin. I might ask Mike to address that. It's subject to the traffic shed, so they're under the allowable number of units for the traffic shed, and then it's also under, I believe, the total number of lots required for an access analysis. Is that correct, Mike?
This is Mike Madison. Yeah, that is correct. Until you get to 50 lots, there's no requirement in the zoning ordinance to do an intersection analysis that would include the left and right turn lane warrant analysis.
And it sounds, I'm sorry, it just sounds to me that maybe we'd want to look at, we have to follow what is in place now, and that's what our duties are to do. But it's interesting when you do have kind of smaller but large lot subdivisions kind of cumulatively along a roadway, that may be just something we want to look at in the future. I mean, right now you're saying that it has to be at least 50 units, so I understand that. Yeah. Thank you.
Mike, this is Robin Baldry. So do you remember how many houses are in that subdivision that we approved down Meeks Road back last year, I guess?
Yeah, at Starnes Creek, I want to say there were about 80. Is that right, Erin?
I believe that's correct, yes.
So there's 80 lots. This one is 32 lots. I don't know, I just have a big concern that there's just, I understand what our policies are, the regulations. It's just a big concern that you're going to have 80 houses with 160 cars minimum, 33 lots here. And there's no turning lanes anywhere onto Arno Road.
This is Floyd Heflin. I believe that's actually 69 lots now at the Starnes Creek, which is down Meeks Road.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you, Floyd.
Mike, I got a question for you. This is Keith McCord. Now there's the larger McDaniel Farms right down the street, right around the corner here. They've done some improvements on Arno, I believe. How do you do that equitably when there's, a small subdivision right around the corner, which maybe two of those could add up to one big one? How do you get those improvements equitable between the developments? Is there any way, or is the first guy there has to do all the work and everybody gets the benefit?
That's a good question, and the answer is that it does kind of work that way. Each subdivision has to be evaluated based on the number of lots and the traffic to be generated by that development, and then the ability of the roadway network to handle that development. In this case, the McDaniel Farms developer making those improvements to the Arno Road intersection is going to benefit the community in general. yes, an ancillary benefit will be to the, to other developments in the area because those improvements are already made.
This is Robin Chaudhary. Fortunately, the McDaniel Roads, or McDaniel Estates and McDaniel Farms, they're improving, and the site distance and everything, and they're improving doing the right-hand turn lanes off of McDaniel and left-hand onto Arno. That's on the opposite side, and now we're going to have 69 lots and 33 lots. I'm just very concerned about that intersection with all these cars now from on the Meeks Road side. So that's my concern.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I just have one other question, Chairman, if I may. This is Beth Lothers. This might be for Erin. Erin, I understand that there will be 2 structures removed on the site, and there's one that's being staying on the site, if I'm reading it correctly on the plans. I understand that none of the structures are in the National Register of Historic Places. Do you just have any knowledge, just for curiosity, what those structures are that are being removed and the one that's being saved?
No, I do not, but David Taylor, the developer, is on with us, and he may be able to answer that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, yes, this is David Taylor. And the 2 structures that you're talking about, one is a existing residence on Meeks Road. It would be the first house on Meeks Road on the south side of the street as you were going west. And the other structure is a barn that is located on the property that is on Arno Road. An existing barn.
Okay. And what about the property that's being saved, the structure being saved?
That is the existing single-family home that is on Arno Road on the corner.
Okay, and that'll be part of this development. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, you're welcome very much.
Any further discussion? Do we have a motion or anything at this point on this item?
This is Rhonda Rose. I move that we accept the concept plan as recommended by the planning staff.
Thank you, Ron.
Brian Richter, second.
Having a proper motion and second, do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, take a roll call vote, please, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Robin Baldry,
No.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lothers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Sammy McCoy,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
and Rhonda Rose.
Aye.
The motion passes. Moving on to item number 18. Liberty I-840, lots 1 and 2, large lot subdivision on 12.99 acres located off of Liberty Road in the first voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subject property is approximately 13 acres in size and is located off Liberty Road, approximately 1/4 mile south of Fairview Boulevard. The applicant is requesting approval of a large lot easement subdivision in order to create the second and third lots off an existing 50-foot ingress-egress utilities easement. The site contains natural resources requiring protection consisting of steep slopes. There are moderately steep and very steep slopes on the lots, which are located outside of the building envelopes. All zoning ordinance requirements, including those regarding the protection of natural resources, have been met. The applicant is proposing individual septic systems for the lots. and the Williamson County Department of Sewage Disposal Management has approved the request. Water will be provided by individual wells in the lots, as no fire hydrants are proposed, and as none are currently located within 500 feet of the building envelopes. The building envelopes have been separated by 200 feet. The plat is in order and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Lincoln. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Brian Richter will move that we accept with staff's recommendation.
Beth Lathers, I second.
I have a proper motion made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a roll call vote, please, Mike.
Okay, Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
and Chairman McCoy.
Aye. Motion item 18 passes. Moving to public hearing item number 19 was withdrawn. Moving on to concept plan number 20, that was also withdrawn. Moving on to item for preliminary plat, item number 21. Preliminary plat review for Arrington Ridge Phase 2 containing 43 lots on 42.95 acres located off of Cox Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
This is Erin Homes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A concept plan for this development was approved by this body at the May 2017 meeting, and the applicant is now requesting preliminary plat approval for Phase 2 of the development, which contains 43 lots and approximately 14 acres of open space. The plat is consistent in layout with that of the approved concept plan. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat. In conjunction with final plat consideration, the following items must be addressed. Number one, prior to consideration of final plat approval, the applicant shall submit HOA documents for review and approval by the county attorney's office. The HOA documents must be submitted with the final plat, and the approved HOA documents recorded concurrently with the recording of the final plat. Number two, establishment of a performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control. Number three, establishment of a performance bond for water improvements in favor of Millcrofton Utility District. Number four, establishment of a performance bond for the wastewater collection system. Number five, submission of landscaping plans and establishment of a performance bond for landscaping. Number six, execution of a stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of an operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And number seven, submission of the approved final plat in DWG format on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Plan Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of the plat.
Thank you, Aaron. For item number 21, do we have any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
Beth Lathers, I move we accept staff recommendations.
Brian Richter, second.
Good deal. We have a proper motion and second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, Mike, will you take a roll call, please?
Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
Chairman McCoy.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to final plats, item number 23. We have a final plat review for Sanctuary Subdivision, large lot subdivision, large lot easement containing 5 lots on 91.63 acres located off of Green Chapel Road in the 1st voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subject property is approximately 92 acres in size and is located off Green Chapel Road, approximately 1 mile north of North Lick Creek Road. The applicant is requesting approval of a large lot easement subdivision in order to create 5 lots off a new 50-foot ingress-egress utilities easement. The site contains natural resources requiring protection, including steep slopes and woodlands. There are moderately steep slopes inside and outside of building envelopes, and very steep slopes outside of building envelopes. The site is also almost entirely under tree canopy. All zoning ordinance requirements, including those regarding the protection of natural resources, have been met. The applicant is proposing individual septic systems for the lots, and the Williamson County Department of Sewage Disposal Management has approved the request. Water will be provided by individual wells on the lots. As no fire hydrants are proposed, and as none are currently located within 500 feet of the building envelopes have been separated by 200 feet. The plat is in order, and staff recommends approval subject to the following. The notice of coverage issued by TDEC will be required prior to the signing of the plat. Number 2, a land disturbance permit must be obtained for the overall development. And number 3, driveway and drainage infrastructure must be complete, consistent with zoning ordinance requirements prior to issuance of building permits.
Thank you, Lincoln. Any further discussion on item number 23? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Rhonda Rose, I make a motion that we approve the final plat review for the sanctuary subdivision.
Thank you,
I'll
Rhonda.
second that.
Brian
It's
Richter,
Rhonda
second.
Baldwin.
We have a proper motion made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, I will turn it over to Mike for a roll call vote.
Okay, Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
and Chairman McCoy.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 24, we have final plat review revised for Troubadour Golf and Field Club. Section 1 containing 7 lots on 553.07 acres located off of Cox Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
This is Erin Homes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A revised concept plan for this development was approved at the January 2020 meeting, and the applicant is now requesting approval of a revised final plat for Section 1 in order to revise the boundaries of the open space to coincide with the boundaries of future sections that will border this section. This section of the development includes the golf course and amenity area and other open space lots, as well as the wastewater system components. It should be noted that a final plat for this section has already been recorded, and this revision will require the signatures of all lot owners within the section to be affixed to the plat prior to signature and recording of the revised final plat. Plat is in order, and bonds for the non-traditional wastewater system, which are included within this section, have already been posted and are still active. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. Number 1, signature of all lot owners within this section shall be required prior to signature and recording of the final plat. Number 2, prior to the issuance of a land disturbance permit for the irrigation pond, the applicant shall provide a no impact statement certifying no increase in runoff off-site flood elevations. Number 3, execution of a stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of an operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And number 4, submission of the approved final plat in DWG format based on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Plan Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of the plat.
Thank you, Aaron. Any further discussion on item number 24?
Mr. Chairman, this is Beth Lathers. I do have a question or clarification, please.
Okay.
Looking at the table under section 1, the lot table that has B, C, D, E, F, and H. And for the description, there's future development for B. And I was looking for the 7th lot, which is considered future 17.25 acres. and I appreciate staff helping me. It's on page 2, and there's a portion that's in the floodway. So obviously, we don't allow any construction in the floodplain, let alone the floodway. I was just kind of confused why that lot was not identified with like a letter or something on page 2 as the 17.25. And is it important or not important to note in the minutes the fact that's reflected that there's floodway as part of that lot that I just want to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. And that's probably me not understanding that whole process. But could somebody clarify how we just can, we do make note of that future 17.25 is considered open space because there is floodway as part of that lot.
Mike, do you want me to answer that?
Sure, again.
Okay. Commissioner, the lot is going to be in open space, and since it's in open space, it's a non-buildable lot and will be owned by the homeowners association. Give me just 1 second here. And so because it's in open space, the floodplain's not an issue. Now, as for it being numbered, Matt Bryant, the engineer for the project, is on the call with us. And Matt, if you will answer the rest of the commissioner's question, please.
Sure. This is Matt Bryant. We did not number it, similar to what we did when we recorded the Section 1 plat the first time, where we were transferring the parcel for the wastewater treatment plant to Cartwright Creek LLC. We created that transfer under a quitclaim deed based on the acreage. That parcel was over 20 acres. This particular parcel's 17.25. So it's owned by the developer, but in a separate entity. So they are going to quitclaim the parcel out of their separate entity into the HOA entity. So we didn't number it at this point, only because I guess I didn't know what to number it.
Okay, could it just be reflected in the minutes that it's on page 2 and it's identified as open space? I guess we make approvals on the site plans, and I just want to make sure it's clear about what we're voting on. I just found that a little bit confusing. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth and staff. And any further discussion? Do we have a motion on this item?
I'll move for approval as staff recommends for this item. And just with the clarification that the future 7.25 is as reflected on page 2.
Brian Richter, second.
Having a proper motion made and seconded, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's take a roll call vote, please, Mike.
Robin Baldry,
Aye.
Steve Lane,
Aye.
Beth Lathers,
Aye.
Keith McCord,
Aye.
Brian Richter,
Aye.
Rhonda Rose,
Aye.
Chairman McCoy.
Aye. The motion passes. So moving on to item number 25 was on the consent agenda. Item 26 was on the consent agenda. Item number 27 has been withdrawn. And that moves us to the item we added, which is item we're calling item number 28. It is the final plat for Arrington Ridge, Section 1. And I don't have all its other information, so staff, if you could start that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Erin Homes. This is the final plat review for Arrington Ridge Subdivision Section 1, a reapproval containing 33 lots on 93.12 acres located off Cox Road in the 5th voting district. A revised preliminary plat for this section of the development was approved at the February 2020 meeting, and a final plat for this first section of the development, which contains 33 lots, approximately 51 acres of open space, and the wastewater treatment and disposal system, was approved at the March 2020 meeting. The applicant is now requesting reapproval of the final plat in order to reduce the amount of the required performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control. Staff recommends reapproval of the final plat with the following conditions. Number one, prior to final plat submittal, a zoning certificate must be obtained for the completed wastewater treatment and disposal system. Prior to issuance of the zoning certificate, the applicant shall provide the following. A letter from TDEC indicating that said treatment system and disposal system was installed and is functioning. Excuse me. B, as-built drawings showing the location of all treatment system components and a sealed certification letter from the design engineer indicating that said treatment system was constructed in accordance with the approved construction plans and specifications. C, a letter from the owner/utility provider indicating that it has accepted said treatment system and is currently operating same. D, posting of a performance bond in the amount of $120,000 for said treatment and disposal system as specified by the county's wastewater consultant. E, posting of a performance bond in the amount of $50,600 for landscaping improvements. Number two, the approved HOA documents must be recorded concurrently with the recording of the final plat. Number three, establishment of a performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control in the amount of $383,000. This is a reduced amount based on work completed. Number four, establishment of a performance bond for water improvements in favor of Millcroft and Utility District in the amount of $192,000. Number five, establishment of a performance bond for the wastewater collection system in the amount of $144,000. Number six, establishment of a performance bond for landscaping in the amount of $82,500. Number seven, execution of a performance agreement for the above referenced sureties. Number eight, execution of a stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of an operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And number nine, submission of the approved final plat in DWG format based on recordable media on the Tennessee State Plan Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of the plat.
Thank you again, Erin. Any further discussion on item number 28?
I just have a question. And it has nothing to do with approval or anything. I'm just curious. I see on the map that we're looking, of course, at section 1 and that there is a future section 3. Do we know if there are other sections to be added from there on after section 2?
Commissioner Rose, I believe that section 3 will be the last one. Richard House, the design engineer, is on the line and he can verify that for us. Richard?
This is Richard House with SEC. No, section 3, 2, and 3 are all that will be allowed in this project.
I'm not seeing where section 3 is on my view of the map.
Section 3 would be south of 840. It's a little stub street with 13 lots on it that were approved on the concept plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we approve staff recommendations. Commissioner Lathers.
Steve Lane, second.
I have a proper motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Mike, will you take a roll call vote, please?
I will. Commissioner Baldry,
Aye.
Commissioner Lane,
Aye.
Commissioner Lathers,
Aye.
Commissioner McCord,
Aye.
Commissioner Richter,
Aye.
Commissioner Rose,
Aye.
Chairman McCoy.
Aye. Motion passes. That concludes our agenda for the evening. Is there anything further? Do we have a
Just want to
motion
thank you.
adjourn?
I want to thank you, first of all, Acting Chairman McCoy, you did a great job. And a great shout out to our staff who's been working under these conditions, doing a wonderful job. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Sammy.
Yeah.
And
good job, Sam.
we soon got a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. It's been fun. Y'all have a good night, and we will see you in a month.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.